This is the Water Quality Association podcast.
I think we both overcomplicated a little bit. I was thinking of springs and gadgets and all kinds of things going on. And once he simplified it, it just came to kind of that aha moment that was amazing.
That's Rory Sherman with WQA member company Clean Water Guys talking about a new quick release tool that was co-designed with a high schooler. And welcome to the Water Quality Association podcast. WQA is the leading voice of the residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment community. I'm Wes Bleed. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show. We'd also love to have you catch the program on YouTube. In this episode, we feature a follow-up to a presentation from the WQA Convention and Expo in Long Beach, California. You'll hear from Rory Sherman, high schooler Jaxton Gillette, and WQA External Affairs Coordinator Jill Gasienica, who helped me bring everything together to tell you the story. You'll hear about the need for the device, the idea that soon developed, the connection with Jaxton's mother at a WQA convention, and ultimately how Rory and Jaxton co-designed the new quick release tool. You'll hear all about it. Plus, we'll have our WQA tip. It's all coming up on the Water Quality Association podcast. Our theme at this year's WQA convention was Innovate, and we had a very innovative presentation that included a young man, a high schooler really, who helped to co-design a new product for water treatment professionals. And to begin the program, I'm going to introduce Jill Gasienica, the External Affairs Coordinator at the Water Quality Association, and she is going to help me introduce our special guests and give us a brief overview of the product, the tool, that we'll be talking about in the podcast today. So Jill, welcome. Nice to have you on the show.
Hi, Wes. I'm so excited to be a part of this podcast. And it was such a cool way for all of us to get connected and ultimately share Jaxton's story. As the External Affairs Coordinator at the Water Quality Association, I do manage our main phone line as well as our general inbox. And Rory, being one of our member companies, recognized that it's a way he can reach out to the Water Quality Association. And he mentioned he had a story and he wasn't sure if we would go anywhere with it, but I'm like, let's get on a call. And he shared the story and a bunch of aha moments came from it. And we were able to take off and get Jaxton and Rory to showcase a really cool, innovative story in the spirit of convention and some of our other events and education that we had lined up there. And we were able to bring some awareness to such a cool thing that they did together.
All right, so you've referred to Rory and Jaxton. Can you give us a little more formal intro for both of them?
Of course. Well, Rory Sherman is with one of our member companies, Clean Water Guys, over in the Midwest, and he has been a member of the association for several years. So he kind of knew that WQA was a great way to possibly get this story out there. And he actually met Jaxton's mother, Jessica, at a previous convention, and Jessica was kind of sharing something about her son Jaxton. He was really handy with a 3D printer, and Rory also had a aha moment about it, and they got to talking, and I feel like the rest just kind of became history.
All right. And Jaxton is mentioned he's in high school. Jaxton, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wes.
Appreciate it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm 16. I go to Bueller High School. I play tennis, and I also like creating things. I just like creating solutions to problems and just finding ways to make things work.
Excellent. And Rory, officially welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Wes.
Appreciate your doing this. Let's start with you, Rory, to go back to what Jill was talking about. You had you had a need or you had an idea, and eventually that got that we move, fast forward, we move ahead to the tool that we're going to talk about in the program today. But what started you thinking, and what was the problem you were dealing with?
Well, it's a problem that, or a challenge that we've been having for quite a few years. It really wasn't prompted until I met Jessica at the convention that we attended together. And we were just having a communication. We were talking about our families, our kids, everything going on in life. She brought up her son Jaxton, as Jillian said, mentioned his creative mind and working with a 3D printer. And that's what sparked the interest in my mind, and the idea came up. And I said, I've always had this challenge in our industry, and I wanted to know, do you think you'd be interested in working with me on coming up with a solution? She was like, definitely yes. The next thing I did was send a bunch of items and pieces of equipment out to Jackson, and I think it was within a month or so, I got my first prototype, and that's how it kind of kicked off from there. So the idea was always there. It wasn't prompted until Jessica and I had our conversation.
Well, again, for our listeners and those who did not attend convention, people watching on YouTube, what exactly was it or is it that and we'll play a little video clip here in a second.
Yeah.
But what was the tool that you had in mind and eventually came up with, and the need that it solves?
Yeah, it was a tool for releasing tubing off of quick connect fittings. So quick connect fittings, you have to have your fingers around them to be able to release a collet to disconnect the tubing, regardless of the size. And being in the industry 40 plus years, I dealt with that throughout the time as that new technology came into the market. And it was a struggle. And I'm thinking, wow, we need to have something to connect onto here and to do this. And the idea was always there. It just never went anywhere. That's why I wish Jaxton was 34 instead of 14 when we first talked. We probably could have done this a long time ago.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And obviously, you had looked for a solution and nothing was out there, right?
There was some options out there. They just weren't very user friendly. They helped assist in a little way, but they weren't that easy. And I said, we got to make something easier. And I was thinking it was going to be a lot more complicated with that until I got the first prototype back from Jaxton, and I'm like, wow, keep it simple. That's what this is, and that's exactly how the product ended up.
We've all experienced the pain and frustration of disconnecting tubing. Luckily, we have the answer to that problem. Introducing the new Quick Release Tool, a simple and innovative solution eliminating these uncomfortable and stressful moments. Just connect, push, and release. This tool is designed to make disconnecting tubing, PEX, CPVC, or copper easy. The Quick Release Tool comes in 2 sets, senior and junior. Both sets contain 3 different size fittings to ensure no matter what size tubing you have, the Quick Release Tool can be effective. This product is proudly made in the USA with a US patent pending.
So let's go to Jaxton and 3D printing, and you're getting into this as part of what? As part of high school, or actually before you even entered high school. Tell us your experience with the 3D printer and what you had been able to do up till that point, and how you were able to just picture the need that he was talking about, that Rory was talking about and describing, and saying, I think I can do this. I think I can figure this out.
Yeah, so I got a 3D printer, and at first I just printed like little random things, but then I realized that I can actually design stuff that's useful and put it to work. So my parents own a business, and I started creating things that help them in the everyday works of their business. And I think that just from making things that help their business out, I just started getting better and better at designing things. So when Rory sent me some pipes and parts, I just started making prototypes. And I went really complicated at first, but then I realized the easier it was, the better it worked. So I started sending him some prototypes, and he thought they were pretty good. So,
and I don't mean to minimize this or downplay it in any way, but you mentioned it being simpler. It actually does look like a fairly simple product.
Yeah, it is. It ended up being it was like the second prototype I ever made ended up being the best option.
And so, Rory, now you're getting this back from Jaxton. You're taking a look at it, and you're saying, "Is this it? This is going to work?" What was that moment like?
Yeah, it was definitely an exciting moment. And matter of fact, I told Jaxton, I put it on the tubing, I started doing it. I got so excited, I broke it. He said, "Don't worry about it. It's just a 3D printer." But from there, we kind of fine tuned it a little bit. Once he got to that level there of excitement, I said, "I think we can get a molder involved." And that was the next steps we made. We made some different revisions on drawings and everything. And that's where it kicked off. But like he said, I think we both overcomplicated a little bit. I was thinking of springs and gadgets and all kinds of things going on. And once he simplified it, it just came to kind of that aha moment that was amazing.
Did you get any other feedback from anybody else? Anybody else in the industry? Did you say, "Hey, take a look at this. Tell me what you think"?
I did. So this was over 3 years ago. So what happened is this was at a convention, and then the next convention was in, I believe, Las Vegas or Orlando, one of the two. So I took the prototypes with me to the WQA convention. I shared it privately with several people that I've known in the industry for many years. They were like, "What a cool idea." Then the next convention, which was, I believe that was the next one, which was in Las Vegas, we actually had molded products that were real. And I was secretly handing them out to people and saying, "What do you think of this?" And they just went crazy. So I handed free samples out to quite a few different water quality members. The only stipulation is they had to send me back a couple videos of their people using them, which they did. And we had some fun with that. It was very, very exciting. And I could see that this had an opportunity to go. And that's when I reached out to Jillian because of the story. We were able to file for patents. So we do have a patent pending on it now. And we're waiting anxiously for that. But yeah, it was a very exciting moment for sure.
Now, have you developed a manufacturing process? Have you reached out to somebody who could actually mass produce this?
Yes. So we already purchased the molds for both of our tool sets. We have already produced them. We have packaged them. And this last convention at Long Beach, we shared that with several of the manufacturers in that realm and that scope of thing that manufactures the fittings and everything that goes hand in hand. We had an opportunity. Jaxton got to tell his story to them. They were very excited. Jillian introduced us to quite a few people, and we are currently now in contacts with them. And we're looking at different opportunities and stuff for where that can go from here.
So right now, if somebody were saying, "Hey, give it to me. Let me buy this thing," that's actually not possible right now, correct?
No, they actually can. They just have to call me, and we do have them in stock, and they are available.
Okay.
And they can be packaged with labels, without. So it's whatever they want, and we're open to that for sure.
All right, great. So Jaxton, to go back to you, how do you feel about having played a role in this development?
I think it's really cool. It was a really good opportunity. Rory has so much knowledge for this industry. I just got to use kind of what he was thinking in his head for a while. I just kind of got to put it into the computer and then make it real life. And that was just pretty cool seeing it all come around.
Yeah, and Jill, if I could go back to you, as you heard the story come through and then put together the convention presentation that Rory just mentioned a moment ago. Tell us about what reaction you've seen or heard from members.
It was so wonderful getting to showcase Jaxton and Rory's story at convention. We had a home for him at a couple of different education sessions. We were able to kick off his story at the start of the event by having them share the story at our lead advisory council meeting. So the lead advisory councils are made up of the WIN Women in Industry, Thrive Diversity of Ideas, and of course, Rise, our young professionals. And Jaxton's story just fit so well into that group. And then, of course, the overarching theme of convention being innovation. We kicked off the week with Jaxton and Rory just sharing this story, how, it's not a one-time thing where everything turns out beautifully. Jaxton, I think you summarized some great examples of some of the hiccups that you ran into along the way, and how there were, different variations of the product. You were able to kind of get them to look at your mindset from a young professional's and an entrepreneur's mindset. So there was some great conversation there at that first meeting. And then, as Rory alluded to as well, we also got some great introductions through some of our manufacturer and supplier meetings as well. That's what's so wonderful about this industry. There's just a really close-knit feeling. So lots of great networking opportunities to get the story out there.
Fantastic. So, Jaxton, tell us about the things you've learned as this, young entrepreneur or young designer. What experiences do you feel this has led to, your, expanded your vision and whatever else that you can think of as you go forward and look at your career down the road?
Yes, there's a few things. First, and probably the hardest, is like the first prototype's never the best one. It takes lots and lots of tweaks to get stuff perfect, or as close as you can get it to perfect. So, I think in the end there was over 100 prototypes, and then you had to tweak all the printer settings, and there's different materials you can make it with. So there's a lot of different variables that you have to try to control to get the best possible product. Mm-hmm. And then another really hard thing for me was taking criticism, not necessarily criticism, but we handed them out kind of in our local area to a few different plumbers we knew and stuff. And sometimes it was hard because they were just honest, and that was really hard for me to take because I had put so many hours in this part when they're just like, yeah, it just broke, or yeah, it doesn't work, or whatever. It was really hard for me to take that sometimes because I had put so much work into it. But once I realized that I just need to take that as the truth and just fix what they were saying is wrong and not be hurt by it, that really helped me a lot.
No doubt. Any thoughts on where you'll go to college yet and what you'll major in?
I don't know yet. I'm thinking something engineering related, though.
Makes a lot of sense. And Rory, what about words of encouragement you might pass along to folks in the industry? Again, a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, people you have already heard a lot of feedback from, but just in general, if others out there have ideas and whatnot, what can you tell us?
I just think that we learn so much from each other. I have 7 kids, and I've always taught my kids to go for their dreams and their passion and whatever gets them excited and motivated. And I told Jessica's parents, I said, if anything ever happens, I'm here to adopt him. I think he's an awesome young man. And I think just sharing those opportunities with that vision of what he had, and just taking somebody in my age bracket to his, that we were able to work together, so it was so easily formed. And I just say to all people in our industry is keep your mind open, share those ideas. Don't wait 20, 30 years before you do that. Talk about it with other people, because I think the more you do that, the more these opportunities are going to come up. And with these creative minds and technologies today and everything, like Jaxton, can't say that I'm just so proud of what he's done and accomplished, not only for himself and what we've done as a product, but just for the industry, because I think it's a big step that can be shared, and it's such a simple one too, and I think it can make a big, big difference.
All right. Well, Rory Sherman and Jaxton Gillette and Jill Gasienica, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast and telling this wonderful story. Again, so inspiring, so encouraging, entrepreneurial, innovative, putting it all together. And of course, Jill, a great example of WQA in action, because it's all part of the wonderful synergy that our group, our members, are able to provide for each other. So I know it's been exciting for you.
Couldn't agree more. It's been a lot of fun to be along for the journey.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Wes.
Wes.
Thank you.
Our WQA tip: did you know that customers can find a WQA member in their area by heading over to the WQA website and typing in their zip code? It's that simple. They can even see which members of your team have their WQA professional certification. Another great benefit of being a WQA member. Learn more about becoming a member at wqa.org/membership. Thanks for joining us for the Water Quality Association podcast, bringing you the latest news and insights from the association, our members, and outside experts to help you better serve your customer and grow your business. Learn more about water and water filtration at our consumer website, betterwatertoday.org, and learn more about professional certification, product certification, and how you can become a WQA member at wqa.org. Until next time, this is Wes Bleed. So long from the Water Quality Association.